Well, salutations, denizens of the internet. 'Tis I, Firebite27, and today we will be having sort of an art live stream slash showcase slash I don't know whatever the heck this is gonna end up as, but I'm sitting here in my kitchen because I don't want to disturb anyone, and yeah, I'm going to share a bit of the artwork that I prepared for She Who Stalks the Dungeon, my webcomic, which if you can't see the chat right now, there's a link to it that I've posted. And yeah, let's get to it by showing off some of the character art that I've done so far. Let's see here. First off, we're gonna go with Magmara. This is the pose that I've done. This is like my favorite sort of like pose I've done so far for a character. It's basically just some splash art that I made of her in the Archvile pose from Doom 2. I really quite like it. And she's okay, this is gonna be weird. My headcanon is that if Magmara had a voice, it would be the exact same voice as Ragatha from the Amazing Digital Circus. You might have also noticed that, like, unlike most of my other characters, her teeth are like in varying shades of white. I did that because I figured canonically in a medieval fantasy universe, the people aren't going to have braces, so like her teeth are a little bit crooked. Like they're not hideous like some kind of crackhead, but they are noticeably off from the. Oh, hello, Mr. Lemons. How are you doing? Is this all made in Piskel, Ryan? Why, yes, it is all made in Piskel. This is the program that I've used for all of my pixel art in all of my videos. So I don't see any reason why I shouldn't use it in these videos. I did not know about that French lore, Alex. Thank you for that. But yeah, that's yeah, this is Magmara. Now, I've stated in like the posts I've made for the webcomic that Magmara is one of the fiends, a race of multicolored demon-like beings. Magmara is a crimson fiend. She controls fire, hence the name Magmara. But something that I haven't gotten to share yet is some of her family history because she's adopted. I don't want to reveal too much about what's to come, but basically, she came from the she wasn't originally from Onisheim. And to clarify for anyone who has only read the comic and hasn't watched like my advertisements for it on this channel, it is pronounced Onisheim and not Anisheim or Anisheim. I just want to make sure that's used fiscal back last year when developing a video game. It's so easy for animating compared to stuff like Crit Up. Yeah, it is. One thing that I can say about Piskel that is like a great is one of the reasons why I continue to use it to this day is because it is so intuitive. It's very good for like just having files that I can just plonk up and then duplicate and re-edit because like here's the big thing. Massive scandal from this artist. Um all of my basically I did not start out being good at these these model sheets that I've made of the characters. It's all basically whenever I'm making a new character model sheet, I'll take an existing character model sheet like Magmara's, and then press Command S, and then save it under a different title like Googly Hoogly. And then bam, I've got a file for a character named Googly Hoogly. This is just a demonstration. Now in toy news, are you excited for the Carnivac versus Iron Fist 2 pack? Kinda. I'm more excited for Carnivac than I am Iron Fist. That's just because, like, the Titans Return Weird Wolf mold, or Wolf Wire mold, I guess is the name for it, is very good. But it's also one that suffered from, like, some fragility issues. Basically, it couldn't, like, get the figure without, like, part of its back flap cracking, and that that es no bueno, as I believe they would say in Spanish, or at least Latin American Spanish. I'm trying to learn a bit of Latin American Spanish right now because I work in a predominantly Latin American populated area, and I work in customer service, and I want to provide my customers with the best service that I can. Anyways, don't mind the clinking, by the way. That's just me stirring up some sugar in my lemonade. Yeah, that's right. The lemonade stream, like Jello Apocalypse. March and Iron Fist? Yeah. In which case, maybe I'll propose someday that we like split the pack, but not right now. Let's get back to what I'm trying to focus on: the characters from the comic. What I also like to do for every character is like do some alternate expressions in their character sheet, show some of the range of emotions that they can show, and like various details of how they emote. For example, let me pull up one. Here we go. Yevalt. Yevalt Umbrianus. And I should clarify again that it's Umbrianus, not Umbrianus. Oh, Ryan, you're learning Spanish too. That's really fun. And also, what's even funnier? Oh, yes, Magmara is a demon. Magmara is a demon. She's one of the fiends, which canonically, the fiends are going to be a bit weird. Magmara looks different from most of the other fiends. Like the black sclera of her eyes, that's not how most fiends look. There's another character, a Azure fiend that will pop up later. Let me just pull her up. Let's see here. Nagare Polaris. There we go. And Nagare is Japanese for flowing water, and this is Nagare Polaris. She's another fiend like Magmara. However, unlike the Crimson Fiends, she's an Azure Fiend, and the Azure Fiends are capable of controlling water. There's going to be a few of them, but like most other races in this universe and in general, she has a white sclera to her eye. And now the reason I'm pointing this out is because this is related to a major plot point later on. Oh no, Yavalt, the one I just showed off, he is not an elf. In fact, none of the characters in the story so far, except for one, are an elf. Yavalt belongs to a race of creatures that I created back when I was in high school called Meglanians. And Meglanians are basically like elves with stone limbs and elemental powers. Basically, the Meglanians are incredibly important to the mythology of all of my stories. They've been with me ever since I was posting on DeviantArt, and I love having any excuse to put them into my stories. And in this case, they're actually very important because the central conflict, at least in terms of like saving Page's world from the Eldritch monster, is very dependent on the Meglanians. Oh yes, there are plenty of other like standard fantasy races. I didn't get to show them off in the trailer for this comic. Let me pull them up. Let's see here. We'll start with Algalmoth because he's actually an orc. Let's see here. Algalmoth. There we go. Yeah, here we go. Oh, whoops, that was a different sheet. Oops. There we go, clean. This is a Galmoth, and he is an orc. I will admit that this design was. Here's the thing. The comic was meant to be sort of a parody of isekai anime tropes, specifically the kinds where a character is transported to a fantasy world with video game mechanics. Whoa! And I wanted to parody a lot of the tropes that I see there, including the one where orcs are essentially pigmen. So I made Agalmoth a pigman, but I also made him the Doom Slayer from Doom Eternal and the other Doom games that were made with Bethesda's input. So you can see here, like I obviously based his axe on the Crucible. Um, I've got his armor from Doom Guy. No, not a Warhammer type pig nose. It's more of like my inspirations were mainly I listed it off in a in the initial let's take a bite out of video that I made for this. Basically, it was heavily inspired by isekai anime, specifically Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skill and Skeleton Knight in Another World, both of which are high recommendations on my list. As for trolls, ogres, and gremlins, I will try to make some of them, but I want to make them all unique. I don't want to go with like every because like here's the thing: when you hear orc in fantasy, your mind either goes to one of two places. You either go to the green-skinned elf monsters from Lord of the Rings, or you go to the pig-nosed guys from animes that inspired me. Um, but for like goblin, and like I don't want like it. I want to like make characters that sort of like betray the stereotypes of fantasy characters. Like let's see here, Stefania. Okay, here's one. Uh, For example, I have one character who is an elf. Her name is Stefania Fairweather, partially named after one of my managers. And oh boy, that is 8. Yeah, here we go. Stefania is meant to be an elf. However, elves are usually like the ones who are super in tune with nature and super hip about the natural world and have super high control over magic. But in this case, Stefania is an elf who has absolutely no control over magic. She cannot use it at all, unlike the rest of the elves. So instead, she uses technology and is one of the people in the production facility in the dungeon that makes some of the items that they need in order to keep things running. Because like a big part of this is just I'm going to turn off that strobing effect in the corner just for the sake of people who suffer from, from seizures. Um, Stefania, basically, she does most of like the stuff that you'd find, the usable items that you'd find in a dungeon that aren't like strictly magic based, like an escape rope. She can create those, or like armor polish to repair damaged objects. That's her specialty. Whereas her coworker is a dwarf with suffers from the exact opposite problem, Georgia McMorman. And she has great magical talent, but dwarves aren't exactly known for their magical prowess, so. Oh, hey, Master Far. Welcome. I might make the trolls big nosed. It does sound kind of fun. Or like maybe I'll parody that trope by like making them look like a Probopass from Pokemon, where they're just all nose. That actually would be pretty cool, like a Moai-inspired troll. Like various tribes of troll are based off of different sculptures um, from different areas of the world, depending on their sort of like what environment they live in. Like maybe tropical jungle trolls are based off of Mayan and Mesoamerican art. I don't know. Sounds like it could be cool. Oh, monsters? Yeah, there are going to be plenty of those. I didn't get a good chance to show them off in the comic. I did allude to them in like the 6th episode, I want to say. But there will be plenty of monsters. There will be some of the ones I can confirm are Shoggoths from the work of Howard Phillips Lovecraft. We have some kobolds, which take more inspiration from their dragonic form in Dungeons and Dragons. We'll also have oh god, what's another really fun one I'm looking forward to? Oh yeah, we're also gonna have more Lovecraft inspired monsters. which includes like a few eldritch horrors beyond just the one that caused the main character's world to freeze. Um, it's we're gonna have it's one that again I've had for a long time named Bajarxithus, and he is the god of science, and he has dominion over one of the floors of the dungeon as a boss, and, and like you were gonna have so many like different environments. However, I will say that we're not gonna have as many as I originally planned for in the comic. Originally, I planned for there to be 100 floors in the Anasheim dungeon. However, I decided that trying to go through 100 of these is it's just not going to be feasible for just one guy who's doing the entire comic, is it? So, what I decided on is that I'm not sure at the moment. I might chop it down to 60 floors. I might only have as few as 20 floors in the dungeon. We'll really see. But like each the one of the ones that I'm most excited for that's a monster. Let me just pull her up. Is Margaret the Blaspheme Moose. She is a stage hazard in the dungeon's 15th floor. Will Cthulhu show up? Not exactly. He won't show up as an enemy, but he might show up as like maybe a character who, since like there are going to be elder gods in this comic, maybe he'll show up as like one of the gods who helped destroy this other god that's caused Paige's world to freeze. But like we will have plenty of eldritch characters like Margaret here. She's essentially a fusion between my dear friend Nokotan and God from Squirrel Stapler. I'll just let that sink in for a moment. And there will also be some like other monsters too. Have I seen Neo or Victory yet? No. I did try watching a bit of Beast Wars second, but just the dub wasn't for me. Even though like it was hilarious, I'm pretty sure it was like a fan dub. So like, big ups to anyone who does a fan dub. I'd really like to do fan dubs one day for shows like my dear friend Nokotan. I've got this one friend at my job who's like really into voice acting. They really want to be a voice actor, and I really want to like work on some dubbing with them. Uh, any fresh kills to report from this god, the Margaret? No, she does not have any fresh kills to report, unfortunately. Yet. Seer, the big thing that's currently happening behind the scenes at the dungeon is just that Magmaro was not the original, like, final boss of the dungeon. In fact, the reason she's even in this position in the first place is because she was actually raised by the previous final boss. Call it a bit of corporate nepotism, if you will. But anyways, the thing is, in order to make sure that she got accustomed to running the dungeon, she basically had better control over it. If voice actors are better than actors, that's a dangerous line to run, honestly. Like, I think they should be treated as equals. Now, I would say that the voice actors deserve equal treatment as regular actors. That's for certain, especially with the SAG-AFTRA strike or like the voice actor strike that happened. That really ruined a few months for me because I play Genshin Impact, and the fact that there weren't very many voice actors who were willing to give lines for that game kind of sucked a lot of fun out of playing it. There was one event that left me livid because they could not get Max Middleman, the voice of one of the most charming and charismatic himbo characters in fiction, to reprise his role as Arataki Ito. And that was honestly a crime for me personally. Anyways, back to this. The big thing is that Magmara had to, because the final boss had been there for like centuries at that point, when Magmara took over, a lot of the bosses that were there either chose to left or stuck behind, and we're not very happy with her. For example, she is not as powerful as the man who she replaced. And in fact, it's only been open. It only recently just. The original plan for chapter 1 was going to have an opening ceremony for the dungeon where it's like the king taking out a giant pair of scissors or like a katana or something to cut down the red ribbon holding the doors to the dungeon close. But I decided to scrap that because, like, as funny as it would be, it's not something that I really wanted. It wouldn't be something that would be consistent with some of the other chapters. Future chapters will be a bit more serious and a bit lighter on the comedy, but at the same time, I might end up using that idea still, like having the king. Any records I want new figures of at the moment? Broadside. Broadside is definitely a character that needs a new toy. Just because that Titan's Return toy was just, well, for one thing, I can't get the damn thing. For two, it's just I want like I love Broadside as both as a concept and as a character. It's a guy who's kind of useless in all honesty, but at the same time, I find that kind of charming about him. It makes me feel like, okay, I might not be the greatest at everything. I might not know how to hold down a job super great, but at least I'm not a plane who's afraid of heights and a boat that's afraid of drowning. And oh, Bullwinkle got possessed. Okay, that's pretty funny. It's also like super niche humor, so top marks to you, my friend. Let's see here. What else was there? Oh yeah. On top of that, there's also I will also mention this right now. There's going to be a bunch of guest cameos from like other comics that helped to like form the foundation of what a webtoon should be in my mind. Like so far, I've had a cameo from that. I've made a cameo for that Trav guy from YouTube. It's like I love his videos, and also he let me borrow a joke in the comic. The name Grungo Greaseman was actually something that Trav used to refer to let's see, Randy Pitchford in a video on one of the Half-Life expansions, and I thought it was so funny that I decided to put it in as a as a reference to like the shitty people that run the gaming industry. And yes, I have seen Smiling Friends. It's Masterfar. Do not worry. If you want any proof, you should see some of the plans I have for the later chapters. There are going to be some. There's going to be at least one background cameo from Glep, Pim, Alan, and the rest of the Smiling Friends cast. Not like necessarily all at once, but like, I do promise you that I will do Pim in his little get up from the episode where they went to the magical forest, and Charlie's armor too. Smormu might appear as a ghost for a joke I have planned later on. Basically, there's this one thing. Basically, ghosts are not natural enemies in the Anasheim dungeon. I might also include Mr. Frog too, as I might base some of the monsters in the lower levels on Mr. Frog. I think it would be really funny for those fantasy toadmen that show up in D&D to look like Mr. Frog and talk exactly like him. It would be hilarious if that were the case. But at the same time, I really don't want to get flagged for using any copyrighted material. Like I know a Galmoth is based on Doomslayer, but at the same time, it's parody. It only kind of looks like the Doomslayer's armor. It's not actually physically the Doomslayer himself as a character in the dungeon. Oh no, it wasn't. Oh yeah, Masterfar. Actually, they were going to get Cece on the show, but the reason they didn't get whatever Chandler on the show is because this was around the well, if you know the most recent drama about Chris Chan, then you know. I don't know. Look, wait, it did happen before that. Either way, I know that you know what happened. And I know that everyone knows what happened. It's just I'd rather leave that off of my channel if all possible. Let's just okay. New rule on this channel. Let's not discuss Chris Chan at all. Like, I really want to get that Sonic the Hedgehog 2 pack. But at the same time, like, it's just something that makes me uncomfortable. And really, if I'm uncomfortable, then it's gonna come across in my videos, and it might make the people watching uncomfortable. And that's not what this channel is about. This channel is about having a bit of fun and occasionally apologizing for my mess ups. It's unfortunate that you just can't bring up the Sonic the Hedgehog fandom without also bringing up people like Chris Chan. Because, like, Sonic the Hedgehog is a great franchise, all things considered. Like, sure, there are some bad times, but at the same time, like, I think the wider gaming community latched a bit too harshly on. Did I pick up the Emirate Zeron and Flame? No. They weren't characters that really interested me. Those are for people who read the Marvel comics back in the day, and not me. It's the same reason why I didn't pick up G-Axis. Sorry, Straxus. Oh, did I get any of the Age of the Primes figures? Well, it's funny you should mention that, Master Far. Because right here, I've actually got some with me. I've got everything that I got, just in case this question came up. I have gotten Prima Prime, which, honestly, I love it. It's amazing. I honestly wasn't expecting that since I'm not the biggest fan of the 13 Primes as a concept. But at the same time, like, I'm flexible enough to say that this figure is good. Equally good is Armada Red Alert. Woo, woo, woo. I actually have this. I will agree, yeah. Prima does need a bit more color, but at the same time, like, I don't want to customize it before I make a video because I want to make that a talking point in the video, is just how underdecoed he is. And also, I want to use it as a chance to say, basically, from now on, I will be customizing figures before I review them. There's nothing you can do to stop me. And, well, I'm just doing it because I don't usually talk about the deco to begin with, unless it's like standout. So I won't be talking about it unless on and unless it like comes up, unless I feel like the deco on a base figure deserves mention, I won't bring it up. But I will bring up when I decide to customize a figure like this, because like I painted in the entire back bar, I painted in all these lights. This is something that isn't going to be on the base release, so there's a need to mention it because I don't want to give people the wrong idea, you know. And on the bright side, like, beyond just the deco, this toy's freaking great. Wasp is one of the 4 times I'm actually skipping this wave. Like, big thing is, I'm not going to be buying as many toys this year just because I've got rent to pay now. But when I do, I'm going to prioritize stuff that I actually want over stuff that I don't really need, like Wasp or the Superion. Anyways, yeah. I might get it. I don't know. Someone might have to get it for me as a gift or something. I don't know. Like, really, ever since the negative reaction to me asking for people to back me on Patreon in order to get the potential of a Star Saber video a few years ago got me thoroughly lambasted. I'm not in the mood for asking for any more handouts from my audience at the moment. Will say that I am planning on like introducing more benefits to the Patreon in order to hopefully earn people's backing. Because like the big problem with the comic is that Webtoons automatically scales down every image that I put onto it, since I'm not like I'm not on the God, what is it? I'm not a Webtoon original, so I get access to a lower resolution by default. My pages were originally supposed to be in like 440, where the original pages were all supposed to be in 4K, and like that was the medium they were supposed to be in. But I can't put them in that medium because of Webtoon's restrictions. And considering that I really don't want to seem like I'm trying to get everyone to give me money and extort people in order to get that 4K experience, what I might end up doing is I might end up putting the next 3 episodes of the webcomic on my Patreon in like the standard definition of like 120 by 190. And in order to get that, you only need to pay me $1. And it's only going to be like 3. So you're only like reading ahead a week ahead into the future. And it'll only be $1 a month. Besides, I'd rather have $1 more $1 patrons than I'd have like a billion $5 patrons, since like $1 is over a period of time of like a month, that's nothing. But the last time I said something like that, people had a problem with it because I sounded like Pokemon and her whining about people subscribing to her Twitch. But anyways, yep, I feel you. The Combined War Superion, I will say, the reason I'm not interested in the new Superion isn't because of the old Superion. Honestly, I have no interest in either Superion. The reason I don't want the new one from Age of the Primes is just because it looks just doesn't look good. It looks rancid. It's too cartoony, and I don't like that. Um, because Superion is one of those character models that just doesn't look good as a physical object. Here's a big hot take that most of the internet needs to hear. Adaptations changing things can actually be a very good thing. I'm speaking as someone who does writing and has seen adaptations and knows of the problems behind them. Yes, it does stink when certain adaptations change things and get rid of certain stuff. But at the same time, an artist's original creative vision for a book can't exactly translate one-to-one into a good movie. Neither can a TV show's concept translate into a good comic necessarily without a bit of changes. For example, there's a big difference in the mediums you're working with. With when adapting a book into a movie, you're basically taking the text medium and turning that into something visual and auditory, which is difficult because everyone has a different interpretation of how those things feel or look in their minds. Like, say, for example, um, you might imagine someone as a female character described with the brown hair as having short brown hair all the way down here, or maybe they have curly brown hair, or maybe they have hair tied back into a ponytail in your mind. In short, it's not exactly viable to adapt a book into a movie without as many complaints, and we should give them a not really. Honestly, I am thoroughly checked out of the MCU at this point. I'm not sure if you saw my Kamen Rider video from like a week or two ago, but which, by the way, thank you for the amazing response on that episode of It Figures. I was not expecting people to be so gung ho for my for Kamen Rider, but I'm glad that people were very excited to see that episode. especially because that episode took a lot of time to make. It was over 2 months in production. And that's kind of why I've decided to stop doing episodes that are over 20 minutes long, because the ones that are 15 minutes long are already like, yeah. It's just, that's exactly how I've been. I did see Far From Home, but that was like the last movie I saw because it was like, uh, this movie is so full of stupid. Not like the majority of the film, but like that was the point where Marvel started to take themselves less seriously in a bad way. Like the bit where it was revealed that all these former Stark Industries employees were the ones behind it. That could have been great if they had actually taken it seriously. And like actually had it, if they had hints of it leading up to that too, because like the big problem with that movie was that there was no build up to the reveal. It was so stupid. Let me put it to you this way: um, if you were told to walk through a door and you didn't know that there was a pie in the face and it hit you in the face, you'd be mad. However, if you knew that pie was coming beforehand, you wouldn't be as mad. Especially because if you let it hit your face when you know the pie is coming, that's really on you. Have I ever seen Chainsaw Man? I so want to. I am I am so torn on that series. For one, some of the subject matter makes me uncomfortable. That's just like part of it. But the other thing is just the fact that the animated series specifically is made by Mappa, and while their animation looks great, they run a sweatshop when it comes to how they treat their animators. They don't pay them properly. They give them ridiculous. They make them work ridiculous hours without any paid overtime. It's so exploitative that I can't in good faith watch another Mappa series. The only one that I'll watch is Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skill, and that is it. I don't support Mappa because I just don't want to. I just it whatever. All right, and back on what originally led this to this point. Solus Prime. I wish this thing was so much better. Like, it's great. It's got a lot of good articulation. Its transformation is okay. It's really got me in studio series mode because, like, the big problem that I mentioned with studios figures is that the transformations are overcomplicated, they're fiddly, and they rely on a bunch of small panels. And this is basically the best studio series figure that wasn't in studio series because there's a ton of panels, there's a ton of small moving parts, there's a ton of just mashing and futzing and fiddling, and it just overall does not make the transformation any better. And the alt mode doesn't look much better, honestly. And the worst bit of all, I'm just gonna gently rotate this foot, and let me show you again. It didn't do a good job of that. See, that's not how it's. That's not how it's supposed to be connected. It falls out, and I don't like that. Honestly, the first Fembot deserves better than this. Honestly, there was. Anyways. Maybe No, I'm just gonna go back to the art now. Anyways, yeah, this is Margaret, and anyways, I haven't done much art now. Let's see. Back to this. We do also have some other fantasy races that show up in this comic. Such as Ildia, the cleric of the dungeon. She, I will admit that I sort of made her as a joking, as like a joke on Goblin Slayer, the anime Goblin Slayer, because like she's supposed to be like this. She's a goblin priestess, and never mind. It's it was a bad idea, but at the same time, I really like the character design, and I've already put her in the comic, and I'm going to use her. And the cutest detail that I like about her, she's only 12 years old, so back off, people. But my favorite detail is that she has like a little heart in the back of her hair, like right there. You can see it. It's pretty cute. But she's a goblin, and she's I'd say she's the closest that the comic is going to get to having these standard generic characters, or standard generic fantasy designs. Because I really want to do some which are like really cool and out there. Oh right, and I forgot to mention that Yvalt is not the only Megalanian that will show up, because we have another member of the race, Elza. You might notice that she's a different color to Yvalt, and that's because she is a Fulgur Megalanian. Megalanians basically have different fur colors based on their element. That's right. The yellow and purple that you see on these two characters is not skin. It is actually sort of a down, like it's closer to like a feathery down than it is like fur or hair. But like it is it is basically what the Megalanians have, and that's what's so colorful about them. But basically, they're in their on their home planet of Megalania. They're sort of like segregated by these different colors. By a what do you, and like a parody of real life? Why, whatever do you mean? A thinly veiled political message. But anyways, she has command over an Oni, a yellow Oni that allows her to control lightning. And Yvalt has the Yvalt is a Megalanian who belongs to the shadow element. So he controls a power based on the serpent Jormungandr from Norse mythology. And you might have noticed that they have these weird off-color limbs. And that is because Megalanians have a single solitary stone limb. Basically, the Megalanians are the chosen wielders, were basically empowered millennia ago by a race of creatures called the Occulta, Akaaalta. And the Occulta are spirits that were descended from Mother Chimera, and each occulta has a elemental power. There are various occulta that are associated with multiple elements, like the elements. Every element has a dragon that corresponds to it. Favorite character? It's hard to say. IDW Spinister is up there just for the line of, "The fire is giving me funny looks, I'm gonna shoot it." But there are so many good ones. Like, you've got Beast Wars Megatron, Optimus Primal. You've got Earthspark Megatron. Earthspark Twitch, Earthspark Thrash, Earthspark Nightshade, Earthspark Optimus, Earthspark. Basically, most of the characters from Transformers Earthspark are pretty great. Anyways, one thing to note is that basically, when the Megalanians were empowered by the Occulta, they were given stone limbs that naturally grow on them at their birth. And this allows them to channel the power of their chosen Occulta. They basically have a coming of age ceremony in which the Occulta basically helps them start carving out this stone chunk that's been grafted onto their body since birth. A big biological difference between male and female is the placement of their stone limbs. With a male Megalanians who have stone legs will always have their stone legs placed on the same side as their dominant hand. So in this case, Yvalt is actually a left-handed. Because from Yvalt's perspective, that's the left side of his body. And for female, however, when a male Megalanian is born with an arm, that stone arm is usually opposite their dominant hand. The opposite is true for female Megalanians. The female Megalanians will always have stone legs on the opposite side of their dominant arm, and their arms and stone arms will always be on the same side as your dominant arm. Thrash is pretty good. But honestly, one of my favorite character of all time has got to be Nightshade. Honestly, to hell with you if you think that it was wrong of Earthspark to include a non-binary character. I have friends who are non-binary. They mean the world to me, and I will not defend anyone who says that non-binary Transformers should not exist. It's the hill I chose to die on. No pun intended to any G1ers watching. Oh yeah, the episode that Nightshade had with Tarantulas is awesome. It has one of my favorite lines in any Transformers show, which was, it makes me happy to see someone know themselves so young. I'm not sure what the intention behind that line was, but I like to think that it was an older member of the LGBTQ community saying that they are happy that someone understands themselves and understands their identity at that age. Oh yeah, we definitely don't get enough Al Transformers. I mean, how else am I going to make Al House references in the year of our Lord 2025? The show's been canceled for years. I seriously need a reason to keep on using that Hootie clip. Special delivery! Pain! Honestly, if I had made the best of 2022 list, you can bet your bottom dollar that I would have used that exact sound clip again when I was talking about Nightshade. Yeah, I know that Zeno Robinson was in Earthspark and the Owl House. It's honestly awesome because Zeno Robinson is an amazing voice actor. He is like one of the most, I won't say underrated since the guy is prolific, but he is a gem among gems in voice acting. He wasn't just in Earthspark and the Owl House. He was also the main character of Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead, which great show. You should definitely watch it and read the manga. He was also Romero in Restaurant to Another World, which again, awesome. He was also in Pokemon. I didn't realize he was Alan from Ben 10. But anyways, the point is, he's he's a great voice actor. And honestly, if I had my choice of voice actors for Yvonne here, he might be in the top 10. Though I think my top pick are as follows: youth pastor Ryan Kelly, who is this comedian who is who is absolutely wonderful at his deadpan humor. Alternatively, Zeno Robinson would be my second choice. And God, there's this one of my friends who's like got a great deadpan voice would be my third choice because like he's not a voice actor, but he's like a great DM and very good at giving characters voices. So I'd love to have him voice you out. In fact, let me just quickly talk about headcanon voices for some of these characters. Let's see here. Um, as far as like our main character Paige Squire goes, if I wanted to give her if I wanted her to have a voice actor, oh, whoops, that's the expression sheet. If I wanted Paige to have a voice actress, my top pick would be drumroll please. Celeste Perez from Celeste Perez. Specifically, I'd love to have her voice from I would love to have her voice Paige in the exact same way as Shima Reen from the Yuru camp or Laid Back camp because she has a wonderful sort of deadpan voice, and that's exactly the kind of voice I imagine Paige having. It's just like very, oh, well, this is weird. We've gotten used to it, so no reason to question it, I guess. Now then, for Magamara, my top choice for a voice actress for Magamara would either be, God, what's her name? Uh, see here. Lizzie Freeman, or alternatively, let's see here. Amanda Hufford. Amanda Hufford's Ragatha voice would be perfect for Magmara. Fight me on that, I guess. Let's see here. Now then, as for the voice of a Galmoth, I'd either like to have a Galmoth be voiced by my top 3 choices for voices for a Galmoth are one, the voice actor behind God, what's his name? The pig from Dragon Ball Z Abridged. That's my number one choice. Is he has the same voice as the pig from Dragon Ball Z Abridged. B, he's voiced by Chris Guerrero, the voice of Ainz Algon from Overlord. And third choice is, let's see here. Third choice would be Keith David. Keith David's definitely a strong contender there. I just want to like have his voice either be obnoxious or like legitimately cooler than it has any right to be. Let's see here. Let's see here. What other characters are there? Oh yeah. Speaking of Michelinians, we actually have a third one that's already shown up. Let's see here. Where is she? Yeah. We do actually have a third Michelinian that has shown up in the comic, or is going to show up in a future part of the episode. I mean, of chapter 1. Her name is Valethira. She is a Michelinian, and based on the coloring, you probably won't be able to guess what element she is. Her fur suggests that she is a space Michelinian, as this bluish green is only given to the cosmic Michelinians. But the crystals in her stone leg, she is again left-handed, much like Yvalt. The thing is about Michelinian languages, the Michelinian language is that it's actually written vertically, unlike our language. So you can write it with whichever hand you want and be fine. So there's a bit more. It's a People are a bit more so Michelinians tend to be a bit more ambidextrous. But basically, the crystals on her foot here indicate that she's actually a light Michelinian, which is going to be important for a bit of a plot twist later on. Because, well, I mentioned the Occulta, but they are basically the Occulta are basically the predator of the main villain of this series, Azathoa, the Annihilator, or Azathoa, the Stasis Bringer. He represents one of 3 primal forces that, again, show up frequently in my writing. The concepts are push, pull, and stasis. Push it represents a positive force, while pull represents a negative force. They both exist in balance. However, not so much balance that they end up halting each other, and that is what Azathoa represents. He is the pause. He halts all entropy, he halts all movement, he prevents anything from occurring. And Valafura is one of his servants. I don't want to get into the arcs I have planned for Valafura too much yet, but believe me, she's not going to end up a villain for long. Unlike her father figure, the Sage of Stasis, who, fun fact, was actually based off of a Quintesson. You have his sad face, his happy face / laughing face, his angry face, and his ponderous face. He was one of my favorite characters because, like, how do you design a character who has no arms or legs and is just like a head that rotates around? he was I loved the Quintesson judge design, and that was exactly what I wanted him to be. Not like so obviously Quintesson that Hasbro's bashing down my door with a legal team. Oh, seems like I've lost everyone. Well, very fair. I have very pointedly made this art stream not about me making art and just showing off my art. So, yeah. There are some other characters that I'd love to design. A big part of She Who Stalks the Dungeon is that in a lot of ways it's a receptacle for a bunch of old characters that I drew back when I was on DeviantArt that never really found a home in my other stories. That's a big thing about me. I'll never drown my darlings, but at the same time, I know when they aren't destined for greatness in a story. Instead of trying to get all the characters into one story, I've taken a different approach of just trying to get them in with the stories that I can. Not every character needs to be significant or even show up as more than a background cameo. And I think that's a healthier way of looking at it than drowning them. It's like, okay, you can't have every character that you've ever wanted in a story, but at the same time, there's nothing saying you have to get rid of them completely in case you want to use them in a future story. I think a better term for it would be ditch your darlings rather than drowning them. Drowning has such a violent and honestly disturbing connotation to it. Oh, right. I should also mention that while you're here, I would like to give you something of a preview for the next stream I plan on doing. So I will just announce it now. The next stream will be another Byte Builds Blockies video, but this time we're not going back to Kamen Rider, even though they just announced the new series of Kamen Rider model kits. Instead, we'll be saying, let me just turn my camera for this. Instead of going back to Riders, instead of the last time when we were kicking it with the Riders, next time we'll be saying Shua with the Ultramen. Anyways, I think this is a good point to end the stream at. I hope you've had a wonderful time listening to me answer some of these questions. I'm sorry that I kind of misled you and said that this was an art stream when it's really more about me showing off art and answering some questions from my audience. But until next time, I hope you have a wonderful week. And as always, this is Firebytes27, over and out.